Hey you guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. Today I am here with my mare Crystal. We've been having some issues saddling up. If you guys watched my previous video, the camping trip video, you all know what happened. Careful, careful, careful. A couple things I want to say though before we start. There are many reasons why a horse could get girthy. It could be ulcers, they might need to be adjusted, something could be up with your saddle. Just keep that in mind before you start working with them. It's not always a behavioral issue. Again, this is just the way I do things. Everybody has their own way of doing stuff. I just thought I'd show you guys what I do. Since I was already planning on working with her on this, I thought I would bring you guys along. A lot of you guys said you wouldn't mind coming along, so yeah, that's what we're doing today. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below letting me know what other kinds of videos you guys might be interested in seeing. And yeah, let's get started. Alright you guys, so I'm gonna start off by round penning Crystal. I just do this to make sure I have her attention and to prepare her mentally. I usually start by asking her to walk 2 circles and then we move on to a trot. And I do this in both directions. Then I ask her to change directions a couple times just to make sure she's still paying attention to me and that she's listening to my cues and that she's focused. So I just do this for a little while until I feel like she's calm and listening, and then we'll move on to our exercises. Alright, next up I'm going to go ahead and grab my lunge line, and I'm going to start off by just swinging it around her to make sure she's comfortable with the line. I'm going to smack it against the floor a couple times, swing it around her ears, around her head, toss it over her back. I'm just doing this to make sure she's comfortable with the line touching her. Crystal's 100% comfortable. I just have this habit of always doing it before we get started. And then I'm going to go ahead and wrap the lunge line around her belly just as if it was a girth. And I'm going to start to tighten it a little bit and release. So I'm going to go ahead and start off by tightening it, and if she stands still then I release right away, but if she starts to move I won't release until she stands still. So as you can see right here, she's taking a couple steps, and then once she stood still I released it. So again, I'm going to tighten it and then release when she stands still. So I'm just doing this a couple times. As you can see here, she took a step towards me, so I just kind of move her back a little bit, still holding the line against her belly, and when she stood still, I released it. So again, tightening it, she's standing still, release. Tightening it, she's standing still, and then I release. I just did this a couple times until I felt she was comfortable with the tightness around her belly, and then we moved on to the saddle. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is just check my saddle pad and girth and saddle. I want to make sure that there's nothing in the pad that's causing her discomfort or pain, and maybe that's what's causing her girthiness. So I'm just checking to see that there's nothing pointy, spiky, any like pieces of branches, plants, just anything, to make sure that there's nothing in the pad that's been hurting her. And I'm doing the same thing with the girth. I'm just pressing down on it to make sure there's nothing sticking out, nothing that can be hurting her, nothing like that, just to make sure and rule that out, because you never know, something could be on the girth or on the saddle that could be hurting the horse. Next up, I'm going to start by tossing the saddle pad on her back a couple times just to make sure she's comfortable with it. I want to see at what point of the saddling process she starts to feel nervous. She did pretty good. She didn't move at all. The saddle pad didn't seem to bother her at all. So I just moved on to the saddle. And as you can see, as soon as I put the saddle on, she starts to look at me like, what are you doing? And she starts moving. Now, I just kind of move her back every time she moves. As you can see here, she moved again, so I just move her back and continue the saddling process. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing I did with the lunge line with the girth. I'm going to hold it against her belly and release. And I'm going to do this a couple times until I feel like she's comfortable. So when she stands still, I release, and if she moves, I won't release until she stops moving. So here I am. I'm holding it against her belly, and then I'm releasing, holding it against her belly, and then releasing, and then I'm going to continue the cinching process. As you can see here, she started to move back, so I brought her back to her original position, still holding onto the girth against her belly. Again, I'm moving her back, the girth is still touching her belly, and then again, move her back, and then when she stands still, I'll release the girth. There, I released the girth and I said, good girl. So again, I'm going to continue cinching up, and then I'm going to do it again. This time I'm holding onto the latigo as I pulled the girth up to her belly. I'm just pulling it up, then releasing, pulling it up, and then releasing. She's standing still, so I say good girl, and then I add a little bit more pressure, tightening it a little bit more each time, and then she continues to stand still, so I just say good girl, and then I continue to cinch up. So she did really well. She stood still, she was nice and relaxed. So I went ahead and I just took her for a little walk just to loosen up her belly a little bit, loosen the girth, give her a little break. And yeah, and I just repeated this process a bunch of times. Literally, you guys, I saddled her, then unsaddled her, saddled her, then unsaddled her like 50 times. But my camera stopped recording. It was seriously an arm workout, and I just did this until the whole saddling process ran smoothly and I felt like she was completely comfortable. Then I decided to take her out of the round pen and tack her up near the trailer, because usually in my experience the horses are angels inside of the round pen, and then as soon as you take them out and try to do whatever you were trying to do in the round pen outside or in a different environment, it's like back to zero. And sure enough, it was back to zero for us. She started moving again and being all prancy. So I just did all the exercises that I did inside the round pen outside near the trailer. I held on to the girth, moved her back, did everything I did inside the round pen, I did it out here. And then there was actually a point where she tried to rear, and then that's when I asked her for circles to get her feet moving. There was no need for her to rear, and that's what I'll usually do. If they start acting up or being disrespectful, then I'll change my approach, and instead of holding pressure until they stand still, I'll ask them for circles instead every time they move until they calm down, and then I'll continue. Because there's a difference between them just being scared or nervous and them just acting out. Crystal, usually when she's around the other horses and they're walking away from her, she'll start to act up a little bit, just like right here. Ziggy was on the other side of the trailer, so she was being a little sassy. This is only if I've already ruled out any pain or discomfort. So yeah, so then I brought her back and I tacked her up all over again, and she did great. And again, I tacked her up and untacked her a bunch of times until it all ran smoothly and until she was completely comfortable. And that's it. We were done for the day.
Good girl. Good job. That's what I want. Good job. Good job. Good girl.
Alright, you guys, that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!